This is the first time you've ever willingly returned to a school. How does it feel?
Like returning to the scene of the crime.
How do you hear me?
I already know where the bodies are buried.
So I'm going to start with a big two-part question that I'd love to get both of your perspectives on the mother-daughter relationship this season, because curious to hear if your answers might differ to this one. What does Wednesday stand to gain from actually listening to her mother? But then on the other hand, in what ways can you tease that Wednesday will have to carve her own path?
I think it's incredibly important for any young person, to fall on their face a bit. I think it's good for you. You've got to make those mistakes and for yourself. I think that that's very important. But then I also think, to a certain extent, there is some lessons in life that can only come with age, and that wisdom is necessary. And I think also, especially with, to speak to these two characters specifically, they have the same ability. It's all kind of tied to, all the complicated maze between the women in this family, and, you have a bit more experience with, say, Ophelia and Hester and whatever, so you have a bit more knowledge there. And I think, sometimes the stubbornness of Wednesday is one of the more admirable traits about her, but also one of the more frustrating, and I think she's kind of getting in the way of her own mystery and solution because she's too prideful.
I think, it's that old adage of putting an older head on young shoulders, of especially two women with an ability that they have, and with my backstory about my sister, and that, how my sister could have abused her ability. It's so fresh in Morticia's mind of bad. But I think she's on the kind of the understanding that, what Jenna said, that it's essential for you as parents to let them fall and pick themselves up and figure it out. And Morticia wants that, but she is inherently filled with love, and she'll always be there to catch you. But Wednesday doesn't know that. We encourage you to make mistakes, fall flat on your face, but there'll always be someone there to catch you, and that's your mother. And it's a wonderful kind of safety net of making mistakes, but knowing that someone's always there to be there for you.
Unless your mom is Hester. I said unless your mom is Hester.
Unless your mom is Hester.
Yeah, Hester is no
hope.
That's
you got no hope, love. I just go home, sign off. Can you imagine what it was like for me as a Brit to have Joanna Lumley, who I was grown up with? I even wanted to have my hair cut like her for a TV show she did called Perdi. That's going back a long time. It was like a little bob thing. I begged my mother to have a Perdi haircut. And she said, she said to me, you just don't have the same hair type as Joanna Lumley.
And now you're her daughter.
I know, I'm now.
I'll veer towards her next because I only got to see the smallest sampling of her work thus far. And just immediately when I saw her on screen, I stopped and said, perfect casting for this role. Can each of you tell me something about her and what she brings to the role of Hester that makes the character one of a kind, hers, uniquely her own?
There's no one else. There's no one else like Joanna Lumley. I can imagine somebody else in this part, but then also just when you speak to Joanna, she's the only person in the room, and that's the kind of charm and kind of persuasion that a character like Hester Frump has to possess, to get away with all of her, side quests and diabolical tendencies. And Joanna really just, everything about her is so luxurious and lived in and glamorous, and she can't help it. It's in her mannerisms, and, you see her outside her trailer and she has this sort of elegance and prestige that you can't really find anywhere else. So to have her in the show and to contribute to our family, and the deeper we dive into these characters, the more and more it makes sense.
She has that wicked,
like
that wicked grandiose,
Yes.
that she's, like you said, she works the room, and as Joanna, is something very breathy and light and well-read, and she's a dame, goddammit, she's a dame, and then she can take that and manipulate it into a very devious kind of grandiose, you know? It's just magic to watch. It's just, you know, I blame her, I blame Joanna Lumley, and I blame Jenna Ortega for me forgetting my lines. Because I start to look and go, and then go, oops, I gotta say something. I get enthralled.
Do not blame you one bit. Before I got to leave you, Jen, I wanted to make sure to ask this question because you have now executive produced 2 films. Season 2 of Wednesday, however, marks the very first time that you are a full-blown producer on a project, which is a big deal and should be celebrated. Can you walk us through how that credit came to be? And also maybe tell us some goals that you had for yourself in terms of how you wanted to use the new title.
Thank you so much. Yes, it is the first time I've ever produced a television series and something to this extent before. It was something that just kind of seemed to make sense. It wasn't, you know, a demand or something that I had brought up. It was quite natural. I was in pretty much every scene in the first season, so I was constantly spending time with the showrunners, Miles and Al, and Tim, and having you know, deeper, more intricate conversation, not only about my character but about the world around her, because it's all through her perspective. So you know, my experience, I'm seeing everything through Wednesday's eyes, and I devoted so much time to that. And yes, because she's the narrator, it made a lot of sense going into season 2, and a lot of the conversations that we were already having were quite producerial. So this time it was just more so the technical side of things that they were showing me that was very exciting. I've been doing this job, you know, I've been in this field for a majority of my life, and these doors suddenly appeared that I had no idea existed. And that, to me, it was just it's such an honor, and I'm so grateful to have had that experience. And you know, it's been a great education for me, looking behind the camera and, you know, talking about prosthetics and sitting in the boring production meetings and, you know, being a part of storylines much quicker. You know, as an actor, you receive things quite late. So it was nice to see all of that. Any sort of goals, not particularly. I think for me, it was just really important that we saw the Addams family this time around a bit more in their element. So it's really wonderful to have a sword fight with Morticia like we've seen in the films, and the final episode, the entire Addams family comes together in such a beautiful way, and it makes me so happy to see them all together. I do try to kill Pugsley. You know, there was a lot of bits and moments like that, you know, your guys' love for one another is very vibrant.
I love the Gomez-Pugsley storyline.
So sweet.
The father-son. It's just magic.
So
really
sweet.
Magic.
Yeah, that was my main concern, I would say.
Wednesday Addams. It is an honor to meet the savior of Nevermore.
Can I get your autograph? I only signed my name in blood. I would expect nothing less. I never said it was my own blood.
So, Steve, I'm going to start with you. You are someone with unparalleled variety in your body of work. So it did make me want to ask, with a one-of-a-kind show like Wednesday, can you pinpoint a particular acting first you experienced working on season 2?
Well, it was actually, quite a challenge to come up with, you know, the look of this character, knowing the iconic looks that have already been established on the show. So when I rewatched the first season, because I was already a huge fan, I came upon the statue in one of the scenes of Edgar Allan Poe. And this was kind of later on, you know, but I said to Tim, is it too late to do like an Edgar Allan Poe look? And he showed me a script, and he had drawn a picture of Edgar Allan Poe in one of his versions. And then he gave me his own Edgar Allan Poe action figure for me to have. And that's how we sort of came up with that look, with, you know, the crazy hair and the mustache, and then we were on our way.
I appreciated that connection quite a bit. One thing you have done before, of course, is work with Tim. Big 2-part question about reuniting with him. What is something about the environment on the Wednesday set and his process making that show that kind of felt like coming home, like business as usual? But then also, what is something about Tim's approach to the work that has evolved since Big Fish?
I don't know. He seemed the same, which was, I don't know how you can get much better than he already was working with them on Big Fish. But he loves actors, and I think he trusts actors and gives them a lot of responsibility, and is a great audience. You know, he likes to see what you bring to it. And then, of course, he has a great visual sense, you know, and I think it's rare when you get directors that have both those things. that are good with actors and then good with the whole visual sense. So it really is a dream come true to work with Tim Burton and the Addams family. It's just, doesn't get better. Yeah.
Really no better combination than that. And then on top of that, you both get the opportunity to work with Jenna here. And I know you've both worked with her before, obviously, but this time around, she's not just the star of the show, but she's also a producer on it. So I was wondering, what is something you observed her doing, not just as a star, but as a leader on set, that makes you think, like, this industry is so lucky she's stepping up in this respect?
That was evident in the first season. We would do scenes and she would break down her own lines and go like, well, I don't know if Wednesday knows this yet. Little subtle things that I was like, oh, she's really on top of the storyline and everything in a way that already I was like, it's funny you mentioned her being a director before. I was like, she could be a director.
Yeah.
But as a producer, she was already there.
Well, for me, I mean, coming into the second season, seeing that she was also a producer and then seeing her in action just made me go, oh, of course, what a smart move to actually make her a producer. Nobody knows the character better than her. And nobody on set is as aware, except for Tim Burton and, of course, the writers. But they, it's like she's part of that creative team. And so why not have her be a producer?
Oh, without a doubt. I already loved her work in the role the first season, but seeing the character come into focus even more and in more complex ways this time around thus far has really been one of the highlights of season 2 for me. Fred, zeroing in on Fester now, I know you've said that in this season in particular, he's really making it his business to help Wednesday. So for a little tease here, how is he able to support her this season in a way that nobody else in the show can?
Well, you get to see what he actually does. And I don't think it's giving anything away by saying that he actually admits himself on purpose to an insane asylum. And once he's in there, that's how he gets information for Wednesday. But at the same time, he really enjoys it. He gets shock treatment voluntarily. He's really in his element there.
Is there any line Fester will not cross for Wednesday, or will he do anything for her?
I feel like he'll do anything. I think that's, he rises to that challenge.
That is exactly what I would think of him. And that particular episode is top tier, wild, and I loved it. A somewhat silly question for both of you, but I love playing these kinds of games. If you two had the opportunity to role swap with anybody in the Wednesday ensemble just to try a particular scene of theirs, who would you choose and why?
Ooh, wow. I keep hearing about this camping scene. And I was a little bit like, I think I got a little envious of it. I was like, I want to be in that camping scene. It sounds so crazy. So anyone who's in that scene, I'll just say Gomez.
I think that's a smart choice.
I think this is going to sound weird, but I would choose Enid because I love how she and Wednesday, I love how, opposites they are, but how deep their friendship is. I was very moved in the first season by that last episode when they hug. I thought, oh my God, this was, and so yeah, I think that's the character I would choose to be.
Seeing you and Emma swap roles in particular would delight me to no end. I'll end on a more serious question about your entire ensemble here, because I think you are all absolutely fantastic, and I love forcing co-stars to give each other flowers. Can you each name something you saw Wednesday co-star do on the season 2 set that made you stop and go, that was incredible. I am so proud of you, and I cannot wait for the world to see it?
Everything she does is amazing. The actor Joy Sunday. Mm-hmm. She was the first actor on the show that I got to work with, and I'll always be indebted to her because I was nervous on the first day, and she was just such a calming presence. And we talked a lot, between each take, and I think she's fabulous. I just think her, character is, amazing, and she plays it so wonderfully. And so for me, yeah, that was, it was just a very, the sweetest first day.
Was hoping you would highlight her. She's great.
I like watching Joanna Lumley. She's a real, like, not to overuse the word, but she's like a real legend. And then every time I see her talking on screen, I think she is made to be on screen. Just her voice, everything about her, just like is perfect for on screen.
Howdy, Ruby. We're gonna have so much fun.
And more fun goes to die.
Question for both of you to start. And I love asking this question to tease a new season and highlight how much characters have grown, but also how there's still so much to learn. What is your character's greatest strength at the start of season 2? Something that'll make them a stronger force facing whatever lies ahead. But then on the other hand, I also want their greatest weakness, a personal hurdle they'll have to overcome in order to grow more.
I'd say Bianca's strongest asset is her loyalty and dedication to her loved ones, but also hand in hand, her weakness is that she doesn't open up to them. And so she kind of shoulders burdens by herself, and that causes a lot of trouble for her. But eventually her strength shines through.
So Enid's biggest strength is her ability to just unapologetically be herself, no matter what's going on around her. And maybe her biggest weakness would be her insecurity in her relationships and her friendships and all of that. I think she sometimes doubts herself or doubts how much somebody else actually likes her. So that sort of gets in her way a little bit.
Spot on. Many scenes have flashed before my eyes as you answered those. Emma, a specific question for you, because I'm always thinking about the Wednesday and Enid hug from season 1. And in particular, Miles saying that, that hug was so important and essentially became Wednesday's entire season 1 arc. So it was making me wonder, how would you describe their season 2 arc as friends? What is the next layer that Enid has to kind of break through in order to have an even stronger friendship with Wednesday?
I think now, after that hug, both of them have a sort of unspoken understanding of one another, and they get each other. There's no need for words. I think this season, Enid's sort of swept into the Addams Family drama unwillingly again, and I think she is just trying to get Wednesday to talk to her and tell her what's going on. That's sort of like the next step in their friendship is, okay, now that we're cool with one another, why don't we talk about what's actually happening?
I want her to get exactly what she wants, but if she's not swept into the drama, I don't get a new season of your show, and that would not be good. Joy, for you, you get to spend a good deal of time this season with Steve and Catherine, which is awesome. I love your scenes together. Can you tell me something about each of them as scene partners that you appreciated, and perhaps even something they did that helped you unlock new layers of your own character?
First, I'll start with Catherine. She's so charismatic and so magnetic, which I've always thought, even from younger when I just always looked up to her. And it was really amazing to get to witness that up close and to learn just an ounce of what, she brings to the set was amazing. And I'm so grateful that I got a chance to work with my role model. Steve is so funny, but he's also such a sweet and soft soul, and it was interesting coming into it because I had no idea what to expect. He's such an iconic figure in TV and in movies, and you would think one thing, but then you meet him and it just completely disarms you and allows you to open up as a performer. And the levity that he brings to every scene, he might not even be trying, but he's just so hilarious, and it really forces you to see the humor throughout all of it, even though he's supposed to be imposing and intimidating. It's still really easy to feel safe with Steve.
I love it. You go toe to toe with them quite well. I love how you step up and meet the challenge that those characters pose. It's one of the highlights of the season for me thus far. Emma, for you, I have a scene partner I want to ask about, because given Enid someone who is pretty much nice and friendly to everybody, I was really into the Evie and the Enid and Agnes pairing there. And I'm curious to hear about working with Evie in particular, because it's not easy being the newcomer in a big ensemble like this on a super popular show where the train has kind of already left the station. So what's the first thing you saw her do as Agnes that made you think she is perfect for that role and she belongs here with us?
Her chemistry read. I remember getting on that Zoom call with her and being like, yeah, that's Agnes. She is so, so, so cool. And like you said, yeah, it's probably so tough trying to integrate yourself into a cast that's already been in this for ages. But she fit in so well, so incredibly talented, does everything perfectly. She's so creepy, so easily creepy, and I love it. And she's fantastic to work with, such a sweet girl. So excited that she joined our cast because she just adds so much to it.
Oh, without a doubt. Totally. She absolutely nails that role. And it seems like a really difficult one to get kind of
It is. It's a really, because she's supposed to be kind of like incessant and all over your face. And she's so good at being specific and studied with that.
If you couldn't tell already, I love making co-stars give each other flowers. So I'll end with one more question about that. Can you each name a time when a Wednesday co-star wowed you while making season 2 and it left you thinking, that is incredible. I'm so proud of you, and I can't wait for the world to see it.
You know what? I'm going to give it all to Evie because the two of us, episode 7 was really, really tricky. And the two of us worked so hard in that episode. And you know what? I give her all the flowers. I give her all the applause. And I know she's going to do so well in this industry. She's a killer.
I'm choosing between two. I mean, again, everybody's so fantastic, but I'm going to have to give it to Louis. He is just such a fantastic anchor for the show and just brings such a light to set. And it's amazing getting to witness how he brings his humor to each line. It's just so skilled and masterful, the way that he delivers, and every time it's consistent.
I know what those tears mean. What did you see?
Enid dies and it's all my fault. I die because of you!
I am fascinated by the variety of series release strategies that are out there right now. So I was wondering, what was it like making the decision to release season 2 in 2 parts? And why do you think releasing it that way served the season 2 storyline best?
Well, it was something that had been discussed early on. And for us, what was great about it as storytellers is that it allowed us to kind of change up the mystery part of the story. You know, season 1 was sort of a, long game, cards down, whodunit until really the end of episode 7, top of episode 8. And this one allowed us to, tell a mystery, resolve certainly part of it, but then open the door to, a lot more. So it really opened up the storytelling possibilities. And that's what we liked about it.
Yeah. And it was also, wasn't officially told to us that was going to happen. We assumed it might. So it gave us a sort of structural goalpost in the middle of the season to aim for. And like, okay, we know we need a big cliffhanger. If they do break it into 2 parts, then we want something that's going to grab an audience and make them come back in however long the break was. So it was something that, it actually helped our storytelling.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of getting the best of both worlds, getting the binge watch experience, but also having that time in between to discuss.
There you go.
So you get to tick both boxes. I'm into it. I wanted to ask you both about working with Jenna as a producer this time around. What is something about having her not just as the star of your show, but as a lead of the series in that particular respect that I guess made her an even stronger creative partner this time around?
Well, she's, to be honest, she was a strong creative partner in season 1. When your show's called Wednesday and you're in 95% of the show, for us, it's always a conversation with all the actors, but especially your lead. And, she had read all the scripts in season 1, gave notes. In season 2, she came on into the process certainly earlier, was sort of exposed to the production meetings. So I think she got a better sense of how the show was put together. And again, she's always been somebody who had a 360 view. A lot of actors when they're in a scene are only focused on themselves, but she was always kind of focused on the scene, how to make the scene stronger, understanding camera, direction, had ideas. So I think that is just, with the experience you gain, she can just bring more of that to the table. So, and she's going to have a very long career, and it won't just be as an actress.
I look forward to seeing her grow in all the variety of ways that she wants. She's something else. Leaning into the story right now, season 2 places a pretty heavy emphasis on Wednesday's relationship with Morticia. But then I was also curious, why introduce Joanna Lumley as Morticia's mother now? Why did you both think that it best served those themes and ideas to explore them via 3 generations instead of just 2?
Well, I think it's something that finding the 3 generations of Adam's women and shining a light on Morticia's relationship with her mother helps actually shine a light on her relationship with Wednesday, and the idea that Wednesday actually gets on with Grandmama better than she does her own mother. So it just added a triangle and a dynamic that we really liked and wanted to explore. And Joanna brings such elegance, but sort of like malevolent elegance to that role, and plays it with such delight that we think that those scenes actually with the 3 of them are some of our favorite of the season. That they had such a great time working together, and you really feel the chemistry. So that was something that actually, it was a risk, but I think it paid off hugely.
We needed to see a matter of seconds of screen time of her in this show. And I'm like, all right, I instantly love everything that's happening here. I can't wait to see more from her. In addition to them, you also have an absolutely stacked supporting ensemble of characters yet again that are getting some really complex arcs this time around. I feel bad asking you to narrow it down to just one, but of the bunch, is there a particular one that I guess kind of surprised you in terms of how instrumental it became to the season 2 narrative as you developed the season 2 storylines?
I think the one who was most surprising in a good way was Pugsley, in that you cast a young actor and you don't know what they're going to evolve into, and he's just a fantastic young actor, and we were happily surprised by how much we could give him and how much he really delivered. Because that is a character that's always been a kind of an afterthought in every other version of the Addams Family. So I think for us, he was a real surprise, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think for me, the idea of getting Steve Buscemi was such a dream. He's such an iconic actor, and he brings, as soon as he came on set and he had the Edgar Allan Poe wig, and I never forget, we were shooting the scene in episode 1 where he comes on stage and he does the sort of the dad dance to the Bruce Springsteen song. And he did it like 20 times. It was freezing cold. Even though it was summer in Ireland, it was freezing cold, 3 a.m. in the morning, and he nailed it every time. And there is a sense of malevolence to him too. So I think in the hands of any other actor, you'd hate him.
Right.
And with Steve, it's just like, you don't know where to stand. And he's so fun and so cheeky that I love everything he does. Every choice was great.
There's one particular camera move in episode 1 that is so clearly telling me, like, be on your guard with this guy, but he's so good in the role that I can't help to want to spend more time with him.
Yeah, he's so likable. Yeah.
And then also Evie as Agnes, like, came out of nowhere and just feels like she seamlessly fits into this ensemble. I was so impressed by her.
Oh, and in part 2, she is like unbelievable. She is the breakout for us of the season. Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love hearing that so much. Here's another question I was really eager to ask you both, because Tim Burton is a one-of-a-kind iconic director. So I'm always curious about finding additional directors to add to the season around him. So what was it about Paco and Angela that suggested, one, they would be a good match for him, but also what are some unique qualities of theirs that suggested they would be good fits for their particular episodes of the season?
Well, we worked with both of them before. We worked with Paco on our show Into the Badlands, and I think what he brings is he understands the scale and the scope of kind of the streaming era of television, and he's a meticulous filmmaker, and he always shoots things, even though he understands kind of a TV schedule, he shoots things very filmically and very dynamically. And Angela is like the talent whisperer. She's really wonderful with the talent. She's a fantastic filmmaker, but she also had a real rapport with the actors, and they all loved her as well. And I think that's something too that you look for. And then she could get things out of them that other directors couldn't, which is great.
It's also that I think both of them also have, because the show does skew a lot of it balances a lot of different tones, and I think both Paco and Angela are able to ride those different tonal shifts. So from the comedy to the horror to the teen drama, particularly the comedy, both find those moments of comedy and can play them. And that's not true of every director. You know, some can just do straight drama and don't have a funny bone at all. So I think it's a really difficult show to handle in terms of those tonal shifts, and both did it beautifully.
Yeah, based on what I've seen thus far, it feels quite seamless. I'm very impressed by that quality. Given I'm a very greedy fan, and I know you're making a third season, I can't help but to ask about that a little bit. So I love the fact that, of course, a TV series needs to feel cohesive, but then on top of that, each season can kind of have its own unique identity. So how did you aim to give season 2 its own unique definition? And then are you able to tease how you're hoping to do it yet again with season 3?
We're sort of in the writer's room on season 3, so we're in the middle of it. So not much we can say there. But I think season 2, we definitely wanted to do that by expanding the world and really bringing the Addams family into it,
and having the unique villain in terms of Slop. You know, that the idea of the zombie feels like each season we have sort of a reference to different movies, and that felt like this is our zombie season.
Yeah.
I think I have an opportunity to squeeze in one more question, so I will, given the movie reference. One of my favorite things I've seen thus far is episode 3, because I grew up watching Addams Family Values over and over, and I still watch it very regularly to this day. Beyond that episode just being set at a camp, are there any qualities of that movie that you particularly wanted to embrace to bring those vibes flooding back?
I think it allows us, that one, for some reason, the Addams in nature is just a funny idea. Like, these are people you do not expect to see in the great outdoors. And then also kind of, the subversive nature of, the outcasts versus the scouts was a lot of fun. It's just Wednesday always sort of literally upending the normies was great. Yeah, we love doing that episode. And it was definitely a nod to Addams Family Values.
Yeah.
Yeah.